It's helpful for each church to have a song library of agreed upon songs to pull from for their services. When it comes to selecting songs, a quote by Gordon Fee is often on my mind. He says, quote, "Show me a church's songs and I'll show you their theology," end quote. We should rightly feel the weight of selecting songs for the congregation to sing, because we know people leave the service singing songs, not reciting sermons. The songs we sing will help shape our thoughts, so song selection needs to be thoughtful and intentional. Here are a few things that I've learned over the years while selecting songs for our church to sing. A few pitfalls that I fell into. The first was trying to please everyone. This is impossible. Not only do our congregations span multiple generations, but each person has unique musical preferences. So if you asked everyone in your congregation to put together their ideal set list, you would have just as many set lists as the number of people you asked. I've also been doing this long enough that for most songs we sing, I can identify someone I know who will love it and another person who would say it's not their favorite. All of us need to remember we are gathered together as a family, and that means laying down the demand that our preferences are always met. The second pitfall I have fallen into is a reaction to realizing I can't please everyone. Then I decide if I can't please everyone, I'll just do what I want, so I'll please myself. While you might be keenly aware of the various preferences in your congregation, it's also important to be aware of your own preferences. It's not wrong to have preferences, and it's not wrong to select songs you enjoy, but it is important to recognize that what type of song you're more drawn to, and then be open to incorporating other solid songs, even if they aren't your favorite. So we're going to talk about building a solid library of songs to choose from, because this can help avoid some of the pitfalls. As you add songs to a library, it's helpful to keep track of what your current songs are for a few reasons. First, it can prevent you from having too few songs or too many songs. We want enough variety so songs don't feel old and stale. Now, this doesn't mean that if a song was written more than 10 years ago, it's automatically stale, but rather, if a song is sung every week, sometimes the familiarity of it can hinder engagement with the lyrics. That being said, too many songs can also be problematic. Too many new songs can be challenging for the music team and the congregation. This is especially true if your music team has less seasoned musicians. They will benefit from a smaller song library to focus on building their skills. Also, people in the congregation tend to sing out more to familiar songs. So we want to avoid a song bank of 100 songs where the songs are rarely repeated and none of them are known very well. I aim for 50 to 60 active songs, and within that, there tends to be a core of about 30 songs we do more often during the year, and then another 20 that I sprinkle in less frequently. Having a song library is also helpful so you can keep track of current songs to see what themes are represented. Our songs teach our congregation theology, and they shape their view of God, themselves, and the world around them through the songs we sing. While we absolutely want to sing of God's love and Christ's victory, if those are the only themes of every song we sing, we'll be missing the opportunity to give our people language around other aspects of God's character, or language around how to respond to things such as suffering. Here's a non-exhaustive list of things we should sing about: the love of God, the mercy of God, the justice of God, God's transcendence, his bigness, how he's utterly different from us, God's immanence, his nearness, and his intimate knowledge of us, God's sovereignty, our response to suffering, our response to the awareness of our sin, the Trinity, that God is 3 in 1. God is Father, and that we, as the gathered church, are his children, and on and on. So to help ensure a wide variety of themes in our songs, when I consider a new song, I check how many of our active songs have that theme. If there's already a lot, I might consider retiring another song to make room for a new one. Now, a retired song can come back at a later time. It just might be on pause for now. Having songs categorized also helps me see which themes we're lacking, so I can intentionally seek out songs that will help teach and form the thinking in our congregation. As you're building your library of songs, it's also helpful to bring in other voices. Be in conversation with your pastor and elders. Some are more hands-on than others. Ask your team members and consider the songs they recommend, remembering that your preferences are not the only right ones. What do you do with congregational suggestions? Anytime a congregation member suggests a song, I thank them and commit to listening to it. This honors them, even if I ultimately choose not to use the song. But it can also bring your attention to songs you weren't aware of. So what happens when you get suggestions that you're not going to use? If a song is suggested by a team member or a church member that isn't used, it can be a great opportunity to have a conversation with the person who suggested it, explaining why you came to that decision. Through these conversations, we help people learn to think critically about the songs we sing. And song selection is incredibly important, but I've also learned I need to be aware of swinging the pendulum from one extreme to another. There have been seasons where precise theology and robust songs that covered the story of redemption from beginning to end were what I wanted. This is not a bad thing, and there's a place for those songs, but I also needed to remember simple lyrics are not automatically theologically inaccurate. At times, we need to meditate on one truth, repeating it multiple times where the Holy Spirit works to sink that truth deep in our soul. At times, I have also wrongly wanted to prove my theological knowledge through the songs we sing. I didn't want someone to think I had weak theology if the song I chose didn't have big words. Again, there's a place for these kind of songs, but the songs we choose should be chosen to edify the body and exalt Christ, not exalt my theological aptitude. So as you build out your song library, knowing your strengths and weaknesses, here are some things to consider for the songs that you choose. We want to make sure they are scripturally sound lyrics. Choose songs that are theologically accurate, clear, and aligned with Scripture. If a song is a bit weaker in one of these areas, it could be placed around other songs that are stronger to help bring clarity. Or sometimes the worship leader can bring clarity while introducing the song or praying after the song. But we want the majority of our songs to be clear and accurate. We want the lyrics to focus on God, His character, and the gospel. It's not wrong to have lyrics that highlight our need before God, but we want the majority of songs to highlight the truth about who God is, what He has done, and our position and response. The goal isn't simply to count the occurrences of me versus God in the lyrics, but to look at the overall theme of each song to determine if God is the center or if I am. For example, a song of dependence could feel me-focused based on the me-I language, but the overall emphasis could be highlighting our weakness, our limitations and need, and highlight God's grace and provision and power. We also aim for a variety of themes. As mentioned earlier, we want to build a library of songs that proclaim the truth about God's multifaceted character, rather than choosing songs that only emphasize one attribute. We sing songs that highlight a variety of His attributes to help form a robust theology of who God is. We also want them to be musically accessible. We choose songs that can be sung by the average person in the congregation, with melodies that are easy to follow and in ranges that are accessible to most. An octave jump definitely builds musically in intensity, but those can often be challenging for your average congregation member. So consider songs that can be sung by the average person. We also want songs that are culturally and periodically relevant. We want to utilize old hymns that have stood the test of time, as well as new songs that are musically engaging for the congregation. Again, relevance is never the only reason to do a song, but it's something to consider. We want songs that work well in a corporate setting. Some songs might be solid songs, but given the lyrics, musical composition, they might be better suited for personal worship rather than a corporate worship setting. Or they may be more suited for a corporate prayer night versus a Sunday morning gathering. Songs with corporate language will often rise to the top for the Sunday morning gathering, so we can sing corporately together. We also assess each song individually. We don't automatically dismiss songs based on the source, whether that's a songwriter, church, production company affiliation. Rather, we run each song through the above criteria to see if it will be utilized in our church. That being said, source may be considered in a decision, and it might hold more weight at certain times, but it's not the only criteria used. So as you build or renovate your library of songs, keep in mind your teams and congregation when adding the new songs. Here are a few tips for introducing new songs. It can be helpful to introduce a new song to the congregation, explaining why the song has been chosen. This is another opportunity to help shape how we think about the songs we sing. When I introduce a new song, I do it at least 2 Sundays in a row, and then I aim to schedule it a bit more frequently over the next few months. We need to remember that we've probably heard and practiced every song many more times than the congregation hears it. So it will take them more time to become comfortable with it. Also, not everyone is musically inclined. So again, we need to do a song many times to help people become comfortable with it. Be aware of your team's skill level and take that into consideration when adding new songs. If you have a team with newer musicians, you don't want to frustrate them by adding in more new songs than they are able to comfortably learn over that period of time. So I would encourage you to prayerfully and thoughtfully build out a song library with the input of your church leaders and team members, considering how to best serve your local body.